Hi, I'm Dr. Eric Landy, a clinical neuropsychologist with Insight Neuropsychology in Ventura County, California. For this talk, I want to introduce to you a model of the brain that you can carry around with you. Now, I'm going to do a little bit of activity to kind of help you really kind of visualize the brain a little bit better. Now, have people heard about The Brain in the Palm of Your Hand by Dan Siegel? It's kind of the concept he came up with. He's a psychiatrist, I think down at UCLA, who works on mindfulness. So I'm going to kind of introduce this concept to you so it's something you can kind of use as if you ever need a model of your brain. So first, just go ahead and put your hand up like this. Okay? Now what I want you to think about is, here's your hand. Now put your thumb inside, and then close your fingers over it. Okay? So this is the top of your head. Down here's your brainstem going down. This would be your brain. Okay? So when you think about this model, go ahead and open your hand and open it like this. So here's your brainstem. And then in here, this is the part of your brain that's involved in basic life regulation, keeping you breathing, keeping reflexes going, kind of the palm of your hand. Okay? Now this next part of your thumb, when you tuck that in, that's your limbic system. Your limbic system is all about processing emotions and memory. Okay, so your limbic system gets those going. Your limbic system and kind of the subcortical parts of your brain, that's your palm, those are the parts of your brain that are more primitive, that keep you alive, keep you acting. When you think about danger, those are the parts of the brain that get activated. Okay? So when you think about, okay, something scary's happened, I need to either figure out am I going to run away or fight, those are the parts of the brain that are going to get activated. Now, when you close your fingers over it, your fingers are your cortex. So those are the parts we usually think of when we picture the brain. Remember it has all those hills and valleys? You can see that on the fingers. Okay? So your fingers are the cortex, which are the parts of the brain that are responsible for perception and thinking. When you think about your brain, most of your brain is working about perception. So what that means is, the back of your brain is visual perception, your occipital lobe. Side of your brain, your temporal lobe, is auditory perception, so taking in sound. Top of your brain, your parietal lobe, that's actually about sensory perception, things like basically like taste and also like touch, so if you feel something touching your skin. The frontal lobe goes a little bit different. The frontal lobe is all about movement. Okay? Now, if you're going to move, what's the first thing you need to do? Sure?
Tell myself to do it.
You have to tell yourself to do it. You have to decide to do it also, right?
Yeah.
So the frontal lobe is about movement. And then the very front part of the frontal lobe, which is your fingernails here, is an area called your prefrontal cortex, which is just a fancy way of saying it's the very front of the frontal lobe. That's the part of your brain that's deciding whether or not you're going to move. Okay? And what you want to think about with this model is, the prefrontal cortex, its job is to make decisions about what's the appropriate action to take here. So, something happens and you get frightened. This part of your brain, this part are going to get you activated and get ready to fight or run away. Your fight or flight response. Your prefrontal cortex, though, is the part that calms you down and says, hey, you're just watching a scary movie, relax. Okay? That's the part that's going to inhibit that response. Make sense? So your prefrontal cortex is the part that's telling you to calm down, keep things under control, only act if it's appropriate in a situation. Okay? Now, when you dealt with people, have you ever dealt with people who just lost their temper, been out of control? You know, it doesn't matter what you say, they can't hear you. They're just angry and they keep going and going and going, right? What you want to think about in those cases is, does it kind of seem like they flipped their lid? So they literally flipped their lid. They're not using their cortex to control their brain. They're just working on this kind of basic primitive level. Well, I hope you found this talk enlightening and a little bit humorous. You now have a nice model of the brain to carry around with you. If you'd like to speak to us further regarding any questions or any services we can provide, please feel free to reach out to us at Insight Neuropsychology. Thank you.